My parents banned me from the Christmas party. Dad said my poverty was contagious and killed the mood. I got the text at 6:42 p.m. on December 17th. Dad, don't come to the Christmas party this year. Dad, we're keeping it classy. Dad, your situation brings the mood down. Poverty is contagious. I stared at the screen long enough for the brightness to dim. Then I turned the phone face down on my kitchen table like it was something that could spill. My apartment was one room and a kitchenette, the kind of place where the heating vents always smell faintly like old dust. The table was a foldable thing I'd found by a dumpster behind a student housing complex. I'd sanded the rough corners myself and put a cheap tablecloth over it so my elbows wouldn't catch on splinters. The rent was paid. Barely. My job at the insurance office covered bills if I was careful. I wasn't starving, but I was living on a plan, not a cushion. Every purchase had a line item in a spreadsheet. Every unexpected expense had a consequence. I wasn't embarrassed by that. I was tired of it, sure, but embarrassment wasn't useful. I flipped the phone back over and took a screenshot, not because I'd planned to show anyone, yet. Because I'd learned that my father said a lot of things in private he would later insist he never said. Screenshots were cheap.
Gaslighting was expensive. The party.
Of course it mattered. My parents had been hosting a Christmas party for years, though calling it that made it sound warm. It was a performance with catered food, a hired photographer, and a guest list that looked like a roll call from my mother's book club and my father's golf buddies. It wasn't for family. It was for their brand. My mother, Lorraine, posted everything. The tree, the charcuterie, the matching pajamas. Her captions always sounded like someone else wrote them. So grateful for the people who make life sparkle, keeping traditions alive.
Family first. My father, Frank, didn't post.
He didn't need to. He ran the room. He told stories at the center of conversations and laughed like he owned the air. People laughed with him because it felt safer than not. In their orbit, I'd always been the quiet object they could point at to prove something. When I was younger, it was proof they were supportive. Later, after I moved out and my life didn't track the way they wanted, I became proof of what happens when you don't apply yourself. My name is Maya.
I'm 28. I'm not reckless.
I'm not dramatic. I'm not helpless. But I am not wealthy. And in my parents' world, that was the same as being contaminated. I didn't reply to my father's text. I didn't call. I didn't argue. I didn't ask why, because he had just told me. Instead, I opened my notes app and started a new entry. 12/17. 6:42 p.m. Dad texted, "Don't come, poverty contagious." Screenshot saved. My hands were steady when I typed. They always were. I'd had practice. The first time my parents made my finances a public punchline was in front of my aunt's family on Thanksgiving 3 years ago. We were in my parents' dining room, the one with the long table they never used except for holidays and optics. I'd brought a pie from the grocery store bakery because I'd gotten off work late. Dad had lifted the plastic lid like it was something questionable. "Store-bought," he'd said loud enough for the room. "We're really doing that now?" I'd smiled. "It's pumpkin." He'd looked at my cousin and laughed. "The economy's hitting everyone, huh?" "Maya's doing her best." My mother had chimed in without looking up from basting. She's always been practical. Practical was how they said small. Everyone laughed politely, and I sat there with my hands folded in my lap, because reacting would have made me the problem. Dad would have leaned back, widened his eyes, and told everyone I was sensitive. My mother would have done that little sigh like she was tired of me before I even spoke. So I learned to store things, words, dates, screenshots, the exact shape of their jokes, the way people's faces changed when they realized something wasn't funny but didn't want to be the one to say it. That night after Thanksgiving, I started keeping records. Nothing dramatic, just notes and photos and little pieces of proof I didn't yet understand the value of. The first rule I made for myself was, don't fight on their stage. The second was, if they do it in public, it counts double. By December 17th, those rules felt less like strategy and more like survival. The next morning I woke up at 5:30 a.m. because my upstairs neighbor's alarm was a siren-level ringtone that went off in intervals. I made coffee at home, black because cream was a nice-to-have. I packed lunch, rice, beans, a boiled egg, and checked my bank account before leaving. not out of panic, but out of habit. On the bus to work, my phone buzzed with a notification from my mother's number. Mom. Hi, honey. Did you get Dad's message? Just want to make sure you understand. This year is very curated, like a museum exhibit. Like I was a piece that didn't match the color scheme. I took another screenshot. I didn't respond. My mother called at 10:13 a.m. I let it ring out and went back to the client file open on my monitor. By 10:18, she'd left a voicemail. I didn't listen immediately. I waited until lunch, when I could sit in my car and hear it in full without coworkers nearby. Her voice was soft in that way it got when she wanted to sound gentle while saying something sharp. Maya, sweetheart, please don't make this harder than it needs to be. Your father has worked very hard to build a certain environment. People are going through things, and we just want the party to feel light. We don't want anyone worrying about you, okay? We love you. We'll do something separately. Something separately meant she'd offer to meet me at a diner in January and then cancel the morning of because she forgot about a salon appointment. She ended with, also, don't post anything weird. People talk. That last part sat in my chest like a coin. Not because I planned to post anything. I didn't even post pictures of my own life. But the fact she said it meant she was thinking about optics, not feelings. I saved the voicemail to my computer. Then I took a screenshot of the call log. Receipts. Quiet. Automatic. That evening, I came home and ate dinner standing at the counter because the table felt too close to the phone. Then I opened my laptop, logged into my email, and searched my parents' names. A year ago, after my car broke down, my father had insisted on helping me with a replacement. He'd framed it like a rescue mission, like he couldn't bear to see his daughter struggle. I'll handle it, he'd said. Just sign what you need. We'll get you something reliable. I don't want you in some death trap. I'd been grateful. I'd also been cautious. He'd taken me to a dealership where he knew the manager. Everything moved fast. Papers slid across desks. Men laughed like friends. I remembered how my father kept his hand on my shoulder like he was guiding a child through traffic. When the numbers came up, Dad said, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of the down payment. You just make the monthly payments. It's a good deal." It hadn't felt like a good deal. It felt like being trapped in gratitude, but I needed the car to get to work. So I signed. Later, when I asked for a copy of the loan documents, my father said, "Why? Don't you trust me?" I had nodded. I had said, "Of course." Then, when I got home, I requested copies directly from the lender, using the account number from a billing email I'd found in my spam folder. The documents had come in a PDF that I saved to a folder labeled Auto. I hadn't done anything with it, not because it didn't matter, because I didn't yet know where the line was between control and collapse. Now, after the "poverty is contagious" text, I opened that folder and stared at the PDF again. My name was on the title. My name was on the loan. My name was on the insurance. But the down payment source line was different than I remembered. It wasn't labeled gift. It was labeled advance. And the cosigner box, something my father had sworn he was doing, was blank. I sat back in my chair and let the information settle without letting it turn into panic. Panic would have been satisfying to my father. Panic would have made me call him and beg for explanation. Instead, I opened a spreadsheet and typed the date I'd bought the car. I added the monthly payment amount. I added every payment I'd made since. I matched them to my bank statements. I created a timeline. Then I created a new folder. Receipts, Christmas, because the party wasn't just a party. It was a trigger. It was a line. If my father was comfortable calling me contagious, it meant he thought I had no leverage. He thought I had no audience. He thought my silence was weakness. He was wrong about what my silence meant. On December 20th, my cousin Jenna texted me, "Jenna, hey, are you coming Christmas Eve? Mom said you might not be there." I read it twice. Jenna was on my father's side of the family. She wasn't cruel. She was the kind of person who sensed tension and tried to smooth it without naming it. She also attended every party my mother hosted and posed for every photo like it was mandatory. I typed, deleted, then typed again, "Me, I won't be there this year. Hope you have a good time," she replied within a minute. Jenna: "That's weird. Did something happen?" I could have told her. I could have sent the screenshot. I could have made it a whole thing. Instead, I asked a question. "Me, what did you hear?" There was a pause. Then, Jenna, honestly? Uncle Frank joked that you're not festive this year. Like you'd bring the vibe down. Everyone laughed, but it was awkward. I stared at her message and felt something click into place. My father hadn't just texted me privately, he'd started the narrative already. He was building an explanation that made him look funny and me look like a problem. If I stayed quiet forever, that narrative would calcify. It would become truth in the family's memory, but if I reacted now, I'd be playing the role he assigned, so I didn't react. I adjusted. Me? Thanks for telling me. I'm okay. Don't worry about it. Then I opened my notes app and added, 12/20ths, Jenna says Dad told family I'm not festive, would bring vibe down.
Witness. Timeline.
Calm. On December 22nd, my mother posted a story on Instagram, a video of her living room, tree-lit, ornaments gleaming. She panned slowly across wrapped gifts. Then the camera landed on the mantel where stockings hung in a neat line. There were 4 stockings: Mom, Dad, my younger brother Ryan, and one extra that said, guest. Mine wasn't there. The caption was a single line. Only good energy this year. I watched it once. Then again. Then I screen recorded it. Not because a missing stocking was evidence in a legal sense, because it was a public statement disguised as decor. It meant she was comfortable erasing me, where people could see. That night, my father texted again. Dad, since you're not coming, bring the car by Friday. We might need it for errands with guests. I read the sentence slowly, as if it were written in a language I was translating. He didn't say, can we borrow your car? He didn't say, would you mind? He said, bring it by, like the car was his. Like my life was a resource he could reassign. I took a screenshot, added it to the folder. Then I opened the loan PDF again and looked at the line that said, advance. I didn't understand all of it yet, but I understood enough to know my father's confidence wasn't based on love. It was based on the belief that he controlled the story, the family, and anything with my name attached. I placed my phone on the table. I opened a blank email addressed to the lender's customer service. I didn't send it yet. Instead, I typed one sentence and stared at it. Hello, I'm requesting a full account history and funding details for loan number 2. I could feel the pressure of Christmas closing in the way it always did, the week where everyone pretended their family was a postcard. I didn't need to ruin anyone's party. I just needed to understand what my father thought he owned, and I needed to make sure that when the truth showed up, it did so in a way he couldn't laugh off. I saved the draft, then I set my phone to silent. My father could have his curated Christmas. I was going to take my time. And on Friday, I was going to find out why he was so eager to get my car back in his driveway. On Friday morning, I sent the email. I waited until 9:07 a.m., after the daily system update at work when the office was quiet and no one was hovering near my desk. I read the sentence again, added my full name, my address, and attached a scan of my ID. Then I hit send. I didn't feel anything dramatic, no rush, no fear, just a clean sense of movement, like turning a key you'd been holding for a while. At 11:32 a.m., the lender replied with an automated acknowledgement. Estimated response time, 2 to 3 business days. That was fine. Christmas Eve was still 2 days away. At 2:18 p.m., my father called. I didn't answer. He called again at 2:21. I let it ring. Then, I took a screenshot of the missed calls and added them to the folder. At 2:29, a text came through. Dad, are you bringing the car or not? Dad, don't make this difficult. I read it once. Then I typed, me, I'm at work. I'll respond later. It was the first message I'd sent him since December 17th. It was factual. It gave him nothing. He didn't reply. When I got off work at 5:03, I didn't go straight home. I drove to the grocery store, bought a small bag of apples and a loaf of bread, paid in cash, and kept the receipt. Habit. Then I sat in the car and listened to the voicemail my father had left earlier. His tone had changed. Less joking, more sharp. Maya, this is ridiculous. We need the car. You know I helped you get it. Don't act like you suddenly don't owe us anything. Call me. Owe us exorcist. I replayed that word twice. Then I saved the voicemail and backed it up to my cloud drive. When I got home, I checked my email. Nothing yet from the lender beyond the automated message. I opened my spreadsheet and added a new column. Claims made by Dad. Under it I typed, "Helped you get the car. We need the car. You owe us." Across from each claim, I left the evidence column blank. Not because there was none, because I was still waiting for it to arrive in its cleanest form. At 7:14 p.m., my mother texted, "Mom, please don't be stubborn." "This isn't the time, Mom. People are already asking questions." I imagined her standing in the kitchen, phone in hand, glancing at the living room where the tree lights reflected off glass ornaments. I imagined the anxiety not about me, but about how my absence looked incomplete. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened Instagram and scrolled. My mother had posted again. This time it was a photo of the dining table set for 12. Linen napkins folded just so. Name cards written in her careful script. One of the cards read, "Maya, maybe." I stared at it longer than I meant to. It wasn't an invitation, it was plausible deniability. I read that line 3 times. Declined co-signing. Everything my father had said, every joke about saving me, every reminder that I owed him, was built on a lie he'd been confident I'd never check. I didn't feel angry, I felt clear. I added the document to my folder. Then I updated the spreadsheet. Under claims made by Dad, I filled in the evidence. Helped you get the car, dealer-funded advance, not personal funds, co-signer, declined, see internal note, you owe us. No legal obligation. I printed the PDF and placed it in a manila folder. Not because I needed paper, but because paper slowed things down. It made actions deliberate. At 10:46 a.m., my father texted again. "Dad, last chance. Bring the car by noon." I checked the time. Noon was in just over an hour. I typed one sentence. Me. "I won't be bringing it." 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. "Dad, don't be stupid." I didn't reply. At 11:12, my mother called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was tighter this time. "Maya, you're embarrassing us. This is Christmas. Your father is being generous enough not to make this a bigger issue. Please don't force our hand." Our hand. I saved the voicemail. Then I forwarded it to my personal email with the subject line 12 to voicemail reply, car. Mom, voicemail, reply. At 11:58 a.m., my father sent a final message. "Dad, if you don't bring it, don't bother showing your face anywhere near this family again." I looked at the words and felt the weight of the ultimatum he thought he was issuing. He still believed he was in control. I put my phone down and went for a walk. It was cold, the kind that makes your lungs feel sharp. The sidewalks were busy with people carrying wrapped boxes, faces flushed from the wind. I walked 3 blocks, turned around, and came back. When I got home, I sat at my table and opened a new document. I titled it, Timeline December. I wrote everything, dates, times, exact wording. Screenshots embedded, voicemails transcribed, the loan documents highlighted. By 3 p.m., it was clean enough that someone else could follow it without my voice explaining anything. At 4:17, Jenna texted again. "Jenna, hey, are you okay? Aunt Lorraine is crying." I imagined my mother in the powder room dabbing her eyes, telling someone she didn't understand why Maya was doing this. I typed back, "Me. I'm okay. I hope everyone enjoys the party." That night, my father posted for the first time in years a photo of the house lit up, snow dusting the lawn. Caption, "Family means respect." Not entitlement. It had likes from his colleagues, comments from friends, agreeing, laughing, adding fire emojis. I took a screenshot. He had no idea he was building my case for me. On Christmas Eve morning, I received one more email from the lender. This one was shorter. They'd confirmed, in writing, that no portion of the loan was funded by a third party as a gift and that no cosigner existed on the account. They attached a signed verification letter. That letter was the key receipt. I printed it, added it to the folder. Then I closed my laptop and sat quietly. My phone buzzed once more. "Dad, we're starting dinner at 6. If you change your mind, you know where we are." I didn't answer. Because by then, I wasn't deciding whether to attend a party. I was deciding when to tell the truth and who would be in the room when it finally landed. Christmas Eve arrived without ceremony, no frantic messages, no last-minute apologies. Just silence from my parents, the kind that felt intentional, the kind meant to make me doubt myself. I didn't. I woke up at 7:10 a.m., made coffee, and reviewed the timeline again. Not because I needed reassurance, because accuracy mattered. If I was going to speak at all, it would be once, and it would be clean. At 8:43, my mother posted another story. Video this time. A dining room filled with people I recognized. Jenna, my aunt, my father's business partner, and his wife. Everyone dressed in neutrals, smiling like they'd rehearsed it. My mother's voice floated over the clip. So grateful to be surrounded by love.
I noticed what she didn't show. No wide shot of the table.
No mention of my name. No explanation. She didn't need one. My absence had already been framed. At 9:12 a.m., Ryan texted. "Ryan, Dad says if you come tonight, just don't bring drama." I read it without reacting. Then I replied, "Me, I won't." It was the truth. He just didn't understand how. At 10:30, I drove the car, not to my parents' house, to a small office park on the east side of town where the lender's local branch operated. I'd scheduled an appointment the day before, quietly, through their online portal. The woman I met with was named Carla, mid-40s, calm, professional, the kind of person who took notes while you spoke. I handed her the printed documents. "I just want to confirm," I said, "that there's no dispute on this account." She skimmed the pages, nodding. "There isn't." "And if someone claimed they had financial leverage over this vehicle?" I asked. She looked up. "They'd be incorrect. Would you be willing to state that in writing?" I asked. She smiled slightly. "I already did." She handed me a stamped copy of the verification letter. Wet ink. Official seal. I thanked her and left. In the car, I sat for a moment before starting the engine. Not to calm down, to decide timing. Because my father hadn't just disinvited me, he'd set a stage. The Christmas Eve party was his audience, his peers, his witnesses, the people whose opinions he valued enough to humiliate his own daughter in front of. He'd assumed I would stay quiet, or show up contrite, or disappear. Instead, he'd given me a deadline. "Dinner at 6!" At noon, my phone buzzed again. "Mom, we're telling people you chose not to come. I hope that's okay." I imagined her saying it with a soft smile, head tilted, as if she were being generous. I took a screenshot. Then I replied with a single sentence. "Me. That's accurate. Nothing else." At 1:15 p.m., Jenna called. I answered this time. "Hey," she said quietly. "I don't want to get in the middle of anything, but people are confused." "I know," I said. "Your dad keeps making jokes," she said, "like about tough love and teaching lessons. It's uncomfortable." I let that sit. Then I asked, "Who's there?" She listed names. Family, friends. 2 of my father's senior partners. 1 local councilman I recognized from campaign signs. "Is anyone recording?" I asked. She hesitated. "Your mom hired the photographer again, and she's doing Instagram stories." "Okay," I said. "Thanks for telling me." There was a pause. "Maya," Jenna said. "Are you okay?" "Yes," I said. "I just needed to know the room." After we hung up, I added a final note to the timeline. Audience confirmed. Recording active. At 2:40 p.m., my father sent a group text. Family thread. "Dad. For anyone wondering, Maya decided to sit this one out. We respect her choice." A thumbs up emoji from my uncle. A heart from my mother. I took one last screenshot. Then I closed the folder. The rest of the afternoon passed quietly. I ate a simple lunch. I wrapped a small gift I'd bought weeks ago for myself, a hardback notebook I'd wanted but hadn't justified until now. At 4:55 p.m., I put on a coat and left the apartment. I didn't go to their house. I went to a cafe 2 blocks away from it, one with large windows and reliable Wi-Fi. I ordered tea and took a seat facing the street. At 5:32, cars started lining the curb near my parents' place. Guests arriving. Laughter drifting through the cold air when doors opened. At 5:47, my mother went live on Instagram. I didn't watch immediately. I waited until 5:58, then I opened the app and muted the sound. The frame showed my father at the head of the table, glass raced. People leaned in, smiling, expectant. I watched him speak without hearing the words. Then I did something my father never expected me to do. I opened my email. I composed a message addressed to the entire family thread. Added Jenna, added Ryan, added my aunt. Then, deliberately, I added my father's 2 senior partners. Their emails were public on the firm's website. Subject line: clarification, I didn't send it yet. I copied the verification letter, attached the loan documents, attached the screenshots, the voicemails, the timeline. Everything labeled, everything dated. At 6:01 p.m., my phone buzzed with a notification. My mother had tagged me in a story. The camera panned across the table again. This time she said, laughing, "Missing one, but we'll survive." People laughed. I watched my father smile. That was the moment, not because it hurt, because it finalized something. At 6:04 p.m., I sent the email. I didn't add commentary. No accusations. No emotion. Just one paragraph. For clarity, since my absence has become a topic tonight, I was asked not to attend due to claims about my finances and alleged obligations related to my vehicle. Attached is official documentation confirming no financial contribution, co-signing, or leverage exists on that account. I'm sharing this so there's no confusion or misinformation moving forward. I wish everyone a pleasant evening. I hit send. Then I closed my laptop. Across the street, the lights in my parents' dining room flickered as someone moved past the window. A shadow crossed the glass, sharp and sudden. My phone began to buzz. I didn't answer, because inside that house, my father was about to realize something he'd never planned for. The room he'd built to control the story was about to turn very quiet. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to explain myself when it did.
The first reply came at 6:07 p.m. It wasn't from my parents. It was from my father's senior partner, David.
David, thank you for clarifying. We were unaware of this context. No emoji. No filler. Just that. At 6:09, my aunt replied to the family thread. Aunt Carol, Frank, is this true? I didn't respond. I didn't need to. At 6:11, my phone rang. My father. I let it go to voicemail. The cafe around me was calm. Low music. A hiss of the espresso machine. A couple at the counter laughing quietly over something small and private. Normal life continuing. At 6:13, another email came through. This one from the other partner, Michael. Michael, understood. We'll discuss internally after the holidays. That was it. I knew my father well enough to understand what that meant. It wasn't sympathy. It wasn't outrage. It was distance, the kind that made men like him nervous. At 6:15, my mother's Instagram live ended abruptly. At 6:18, Ryan texted, "Ryan, what did you do?" I waited until 6:24 before replying. I corrected a misunderstanding. At 6:20, my father left a voicemail. I listened to it once. His voice was different, controlled but thin around the edges. "Maya, this was inappropriate. You blindsided us. You've embarrassed the family in front of people who matter. Call me now. No denial, no explanation." Just accusation. I saved it. At 6:27, Jenna texted. "Jenna, the room went silent." Jenna. Dad stopped talking mid-sentence. Jenna. People are pretending to check their phones. I pictured it easily. My father frozen at the head of the table, smile stuck in place, realizing the narrative had slipped out of his hands. I replied, "Thank you for telling me." At 6:34, my mother called. Then called again. Then sent a text, "Mom, this could have been handled privately." I didn't answer, because that wasn't true. At 6:41, my father's golf buddy, one of the men who'd laughed at his jokes for years, replied to the email chain with a single sentence, "Golf buddy. That's unfortunate." It was the most devastating response of all. No defense, no reassurance, just an acknowledgement that something had cracked. At 6:50, my phone finally went quiet. I finished my tea and paid the bill. When I stepped outside, the cold felt cleaner than it had all day. I didn't drive past my parents' house. I didn't need to see it. I went home. Later that night, after the noise settled, I listened to the remaining voicemails. My mother's came first. Maya, you didn't need to humiliate your father. People don't understand the whole story. You've always had trouble seeing the bigger picture. I deleted it after saving a copy. My father's second voicemail came at 9:02 p.m. His voice was low. Careful. We need to talk. You've created a situation. I expect you to help fix it. I didn't respond, because there was nothing to fix. The next morning, Christmas Day, my phone stayed silent until 11:18 a.m. Then an email arrived from my father's firm, not from him, from HR. Subject: Vehicle Inquiry Follow-up. They were requesting confirmation, politely, that no company funds or personal advances had been misrepresented in conversations with clients or partners. I forwarded them the verification letter, no commentary. At 1:03 p.m., Ryan showed up at my apartment. He looked smaller without my parents' house behind him. "I didn't know," he said immediately. "About the car." "About any of it." "I know," I said. He sat at my table, the cheap one with the tablecloth, and ran a hand through his hair. "Dad's furious," he said. "But people aren't backing him like he thought they would." "That happens," I said. He looked at me, really looked, for the first time in a while. "You planned this," he said. Not accusing, just noticing. "I prepared," I said. There was a difference. He nodded slowly. "Mom says you owe them an apology." "For what?" I asked. He didn't answer. When he left, he hugged me, awkwardly, like someone relearning the shape of something. The following week, the fallout spread quietly. My mother stopped posting family photos. My father skipped his usual golf game. One of his partners canceled a lunch meeting and rescheduled it for January. No one announced consequences. They simply unfolded. On January 4th, my father sent a final email. "Frank, if you want to be part of this family, we need to establish some boundaries. Airing grievances publicly isn't acceptable." I read it once. Then I replied, I agree. Boundaries are important. Please don't speak about my finances, my property, or my character to others again. If you do, I'll correct the record as I did before. I'm open to a relationship that respects that. I sent it and archived the thread. That was the last direct communication we had for a while. I didn't feel victorious. I felt lighter. I kept a car. I refinanced the loan in February, under better terms using my own credit. The payment dropped. The spreadsheet changed. I spent Christmas the following year quietly. No party, no performance, just peace. Sometimes when I think about that night, I remember the moment my mother laughed on camera and said, "Missing one, but we'll survive." She was right. They did survive, just without the version of me they thought they could control. And that was enough. Proof that she could say we wanted her there if anyone asked. I screen recorded the post, including the caption, "Everything ready." Family is everything. Then I closed the app. At 8:02 p.m., my brother Ryan called. Ryan was 3 years younger than me and still lived with my parents. He worked at my father's firm, drove a company car, and had never paid rent. He wasn't cruel. He was comfortable. Comfort made him loyal to the system that fed him. "Hey," he said. "What's going on?" "Dad's pissed." "I'm fine," I said. He sighed. "You could just bring the car. It's not that deep." "It's mine," I said. There was a pause. "I mean, technically, but..." "But what?" I asked. He didn't answer immediately. I could hear the TV in the background. Laughter, a canned applause track. "Look," he said finally. "Dad put money down. Everyone knows that." "Do you know that?" I asked. Another pause. "That's what he said." "Okay," I said. "Thanks." "That's it?" Ryan asked. "You're not even going to explain?" "There's nothing to explain," I said. "I'll talk later." "You're..." I hung up before he could push further. Ryan didn't have receipts. He had repetition. Saturday morning, I woke up to an email from the lender. Subject: Loan number minus account history request. My coffee went cold while I read it. They'd attached a full account summary, origination documents, payment history, funding sources, and internal notes. Clean, official, time-stamped. I opened the PDF and scrolled slowly. The down payment wasn't a gift, It was a dealer-funded advance rolled into the loan under a secondary internal agreement. My father hadn't paid it outright. He'd authorized the dealer to structure it in a way that increased the total loan amount, something that benefited the dealership more than me. There was more. An internal note dated the same day as the purchase read, "Customer's father declined co-signing. Requested verbal assurance only."